The character of Adrien Agreste slash Cat Noir is going to be one of the most controversial characters in the history of Miraculous Ladybug. And we're not talking about popularity. That's a given. He's very popular, maybe the most popular character, but rather the way in which he's written and how his arc is played out. All that good stuff, that's what we're talking about. No other character, except maybe Chloe and her fumbled redemption arc, are able to whip the vocal online fanbase into as much of a frenzy as the character of Adrien, and the way he's been written for the past couple of seasons. And I think at this point we do have to acknowledge the elephant in the room. The way in which Adrien's been written over the years, it's been less than inspiring, but that all came to a head with the end of Season 5, where his character got the shaft. Seriously, my god, he was well and truly mangled, this boy was, but we'll come back to that. Because we need to wind the clock back and take a walk down memory lane, because it wasn't always this bad. When we first meet the character in Season 1, he feels like a big deal. His storylines have meaning, and he's an important member of the team. I was watching Darkblade the other day and was surprised to notice that Cat Noir actually holds off the villain. This in turn gives Ladybug a chance to take him out with a lucky charm, as opposed to how it would eventually turn out in later seasons when Cat Noir gets clapped to make the villain look strong. And then Ladybug overcomes the odds and takes the win for the team. Here, whilst Ladybug does save the day in the end because it's clear that that's what the creative team likes the best, they don't have her save the day at Cat Noir's expense, and thus he feels like an equal member of the squad, an equally important character in the show as opposed to a sidekick. Season 2 kind of further fleshes out his home life and plants a lot of seeds for the future, and I think he still felt like a massively important character to the story, even if Ladybug was clearly being positioned as the ace of the squad. Plus, his home life was the massive story that hadn't gotten stale yet, so there was that too. But then we come to Season 3, he's still okay, but the dynamic for his home life is just him getting abused by his dad. He's sad, rinse and repeat. Nothing changes, no development, creative limbo for the most part. He just gets served a shit sandwich every day of the week and has to eat it. And on the hero side of things, this is the season where the trend of Cat Noir being the guy that loses, so Ladybug looks really strong, became far more noticeable. I think it had always been around slightly, but here it became prominent, and people started to get pissed off, annoyed. But that being said, there are enough cool crumbs, like Cat Blanc, Oblivio, that people were able to remain invested in the story being told and the dynamic at play. But at the same time, Marinette was getting more and more important, being named as the GOAT tier Miraculous wielder by Fu when she uses multiple at once, and then being chosen as the next guardian of the Miraculous box. These are some pretty important story beats, but Adrien didn't really get these. And then in Season 4, he got shafted again. He looks like a massive loser for most of the season. He gets tossed into the backseat in favour of Alia, getting a whole lot more prominence due to her knowing the secret of Ladybug's identity, which, yeah, okay. And then also, there's not much going on at home for Adrien. Like, the best parts of the Gabe storyline in Season 4 is him going toe-to-toe with Felix whilst Adrien's doing whatever. And on top of that, Cat Noir this season was getting destroyed by villains regularly, making him look like a dweeb compared to Ladybug. No development on their romance really, they just went back to the status quo after the alternate ships sunk hard, so he just spun his wheels and looked like shit. Not exactly an inspiring storyline if you ask me. So Season 4, it was pretty much a bust for him with nothing going on. But hey, Season 5, it really looked like things might be turning around for Cat Noir. He started feeling less like a sidekick and more like a legit hero, more like a true member of the team, a true partner. He stopped simping for Ladybug, he set his eyes upon Marinette and threw a decently compelling storyline. That ship, finally, at long last, after years, set sail. His dynamic with his dad was beginning to shift. They were bonding, but the penny was going to drop any moment. We're building drama here, folks. A number of episodes, Cat Noir played a key role in Ladybug getting into a proper headspace. He didn't look like a dork all the time. He wasn't getting destroyed by every single villain. It would happen sometimes, but not every time. It was going well, getting better. What could go wrong now? We're building to the big reveal of Gabe. Adrien's whole arc has led to this moment. Are you hyped? I'm hyped. Gabe's his final boss. Ladybug's gonna be there too. It's gonna be awesome. Monarch versus Cat Noir and Ladybug in the final showdown, and they're gonna... What? Oh, Adrien gets cucked and Plag goes and joins Marinette so that she can use both Miraculouses to defeat Gabe alone? Even though Adrien has far more emotional stakes in the finale of this? As the Guardian, Marinette's role is to defeat Monarch and get back the Butterfly Miraculous. That's true. He's still her villain. But Cat Noir, he should have been there. This is his dad. Like, what's going on? His father is the main villain and you sideline him? And so Marinette unites the Miraculouses. She saves the day for the most part after an emotional Gabe sacrifice, which Adrien does not witness or even know about, god damn. Because if you toss Adrien into those last couple of scenes, it works so much better. Like, what the hell was the point of this other than to shit on this development? To shit on his character? Can anybody answer me this? It's at the point of sheer ridiculousness by this stage. And I know that Asterix has loudly and proudly stated that Miraculous is ultimately a kids show that caters to girls, and thus the main character Marinette is going to be the main hero. True, but like, look at the greatest of all time kids show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. In the finale, Aang fights the Fire Lord. That's the main goal of the show, to restore balance to defeat the Fire Nation. It was always building to that. Of all the characters left, only Zuko has an equal claim to fighting Ozai, but they want Aang. That makes sense. So Zuko fights Azula instead and beats her up a bit. And this is another showdown that they'd spent seasons building to. Zuko had already had a cathartic moment where he shot lightning back at his dad. He defied him, he abandoned him, he disowned him. So here, he wraps up his story with his sister, and concludes it by sacrificing himself to save Katara, who had once been one of his hated enemies. And then Katara is not left out either. She's given something to do by saving him and defeating Azula once and for all. Meanwhile, Sokka, Toph, and Suki, three characters of slightly lesser importance but still key main characters, face off with the Fire Nation invasion fleet. Shit, they even give some of the old-timer minor players something to do when they invade the occupied Earth capital city. They didn't just have Aang do every single thing. They divided things in a way that everybody got a finish to their storylines, to their arcs, and nobody felt cheated. But here, Adrien was cheated out of his story. He just sits alone in his prison cell and cries. That's literally what he does. Then he appears in the epilogue, smiling and happy that his father was a hero, and talking about how he wants to live up to that legacy. Come on now. It's such a wet shart of an ending. And it does make me question what is next. Is there a possible way to salvage this story for Adrien, or do we just accept that this is the status quo of the character? That there's absolutely no chance that he ever breaks out of the box he's stuck in, the loser sidekick love interest? That his story is never going to improve, and there's always going to be a sad asterisk next to his name in the title screen. Tales of Ladybug and Cat Noir. But not really Cat Noir. Okay, so the realistic answer, the one that I think is actually going to play out going forward into season 6 and beyond, based on the trajectory of the writing over the course of the 5 seasons we've had so far, is that no, it's not going to improve, sorry. It's legitimately too late. No matter what you do, you cannot wipe away the deep cringe of Adrien being a sidelined crybaby at the pinnacle of the story where Gabe is finally defeated. The second arc is going to be cool, I guarantee it. But I feel like the show has hit its peak with Gabe's defeat. Imagine if Luke Skywalker tagged in Leia as the savior at the end of Return of the Jedi, and all the build between him and Darth Vader was just like, never mind. Imagine if Sam took the ring from Frodo's beaten corpse and destroyed it instead. Imagine if Jon Snow didn't kill the Night... Oh, wait. But yeah, Adrien wasn't even in the room, or the house, or the city, or even the goddamn country. Just a truly baffling bungle that I'm struggling to look past. And at the same time, I don't think there's even a desire from the creative team to try to change things up, to try to fix his character. Don't get it twisted. These are the brilliant minds that decided they would make the love interest of the main protagonist look like a goof for seasons at a time. Only to give us hope with some improvement, then pull the rug out from under us all, give him zero payoff with the main villain, his own father, nice. And when people complain, they are told, "No, shut up, you're not a professional writer, what would you know?" Dog, I do not need to be a professional chef to know your food tastes like shit. But here we are. But let me get out my tank of copium, put on my mask, breathe deep, and take a big old huff. And maybe we can try to puzzle out a potential repair of Adrien's character and arc. Like I said, we're dealing with copium now, so don't expect it to make much sense. But I think the only way to improve him at this point is to make him have more of an impact on the story. Now that all the minor heroes have their own Miraculouses, it opens up the team to a whole host of different possibilities and combinations. I think there needs to be episodes where Marinette is not really featured all that much. Maybe she turns up at the last second to snatch the Akuma if you really want her to. But that's it. Cat Noir needs to do some leading. Allow him to develop separately from Ladybug because it sets him apart and adds a bit of variety into the storytelling. There's like 20 plus episodes a season. Surely you can make a handful feature Cat Noir as your primary hero, right? I really think it's the best way to do a soft reset on things, to try to build him up again. You can't wipe away what's happened, but you can try to redeem it. But on top of that, I think they do need to address the elephant in the room, the Gabe arc. He needs to find out the truth. He needs to find out he was lied to by those who are important to him. Namely, Marinette and Natalie. He needs to show that it actually pisses him off. Make it a small story arc. Let him assert himself. Don't bother breaking them up because, we've waited this long. Don't do that. But it lets you pivot his character into something a little less stupid. But yeah, that's just copium. It's not going to happen, kids. Time to accept it. May as well remove him from the title of the show. And with all these extra heroes joining the team, I think it is basically going to become the Ladybug and Friends adventure show, with a cycling roster of sidekicks, with most of Adrien's story revolving around romancing Marinette as their civilian personas. Cat Noir, I think, is going to take a big time back seat. It doesn't really sound that compelling to me, but whatever. I'll probably still watch. And that's where we're at right now. And so with all that being said, I would like to remind you that these have just been my opinions, and I'd like to hear yours. What do you think of this debacle? Is there any hope for Adrien at this stage of the game? Or should we all just give him up for dead? I'm curious for your thoughts, so make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know.